You know how everyone keeps saying, well, you got to use AI in your business or you'll get left behind. But if you're a content creator and an online course creator, that can feel like the fastest way to just lose your voice and lose your authenticity and sound like everybody else. If you've ever opened up ChatGPT, pasted in a prompt, and thought, this just doesn't sound like me, then today's episode is going to be a giant exhale for you. You're listening to the Online Course Show, where we bring you the insights and strategies to build a thriving online course business. I'm Jacques Hopkins, and over the past 12 years, I've built a successful online course business teaching piano that's brought in over $4 million, and I'm here to share the lessons I've learned along the way. All right, today's guest is Dan Cumberland, and he helps founder-led brands scale with AI without losing their voice, their soul, or their authenticity. Look, I use AI in my business every single day, and you probably do too, but I don't know about you, but I know I'm not using it near as effectively as I could be. My prompts could be better, my workflows could be better, and of course, the exact tools themselves that I'm using might not be the right ones for me. Now, Dan is an absolute AI genius when it comes to this stuff, and especially for small online entrepreneurs like us. And he's about to share things with us, like how course creators can start using AI in a way that protects their uniqueness instead of replacing it, how he uses AI specifically for marketing, which is the area course creators typically struggle with the most, and then real examples of using AI to enhance the student experience inside your course and even support your coaching and group programs. And of course, plenty more as well. If you've been feeling overwhelmed by AI, my hope is this episode gives you both permission to start more simply and a clear path to becoming more of an AI power user in your course business. Here we go. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the Online Course Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Dan, who is it that you help and what do you help them do?
I help founder-led brands scale authentically with AI without losing their souls. So what that means is everyone when they're growing a company, an idea, they bring some magic, some passion, some special sauce that gets them started. But eventually, we reach these bottlenecks where there's like some inevitable, feels like dilution of that magic. Whether it's by distraction, they're spread too thin. Whether it's by handing something off, parts of the business off to other team members, and it isn't necessarily carried in the same way that it was carried before. I help alleviate those pain points with AI.
You were well prepared for that answer. I didn't.
Oh.
You didn't necessarily know I was going to ask that first. It's obviously just like a generic question, but like let's break that down a little bit. Like,
yeah,
founder-led brand. Like, remind me what you said. Founder-led brands scale authentically with AI. Is that what you said?
Yes, with AI, and I'd like to add without losing their souls.
Without losing their souls. Okay,
which is kind of a little bit
like I said,
because I'm saying authentic and without losing your soul, but I really do want to double down on like it's not just AI. It's like AI that like is human. That's AI that connects. It's AI that builds relationships. When so often AI, we've all seen what it can do in the opposite direction, and I'm here to stop that.
What can it do in the opposite direction?
Oh, just like slop. Like, like you see something, read something, and you're like, yeah, this just smells like AI. And I think what I mean by the opposite direction is I think it can really take away from the brand promise. It can erode trust, because it implies that like the person behind whatever that thing is didn't care enough to make it, make it sing, right? To make it like really like polished.
Are you helping people?
And I guess I wouldn't even say polish, right? I'm not because like if there's anybody who if you read a newsletter, and if there's anybody whose newsletter you're on that's going to have like typos and spelling errors, it's probably going to be mine. Polish isn't what I mean, but I think human is what I mean.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with the next question. I mean, do you take it as far as like asking AI to include typos so it seems more real?
No, I have done that, but no, I think because that's still like hacking the system to like avoid the real, I think, emotional labor. And I think that's really what I'm getting at is like, these AI machines, they're complex predictive algorithms, much like in your phone, how when you're texting someone and it suggests the next word, it's guessing based on the words that came before what word would come next or could come next. And it's doing that at like, a magnitude that we can't even comprehend. Um, and so it's really good at predicting language patterns that add up into paragraphs and thoughts and et cetera, et cetera. So it can make language, but it can't make meaning. And I think that's the piece where what I like to really focus on is like what is the meaning that we're making here? And AI, for people who are working in ideas, in knowledge, AI is an incredible tool to take the friction out of going from idea to like a finished, polished product, finished thing. Um, but AI can only it can take the friction out and it can make the words, but it can't make the meaning. And that's the human side that AI just can't replicate.
And the beginning of that statement was you help founder-led brands. What does that mean?
Yeah, founder-led brands is a little bit of like a placeholder for folks to self-identify because it's not exclusively founder-led brands, but most of my clients are um, in the range of low millions to 50 million. I have done some work on the smaller side as well, the six-figure, founders. Um, but it's a brand, a company that's led by the person who started the company is, really, really what that means. And I found it to be a helpful term for people to kind of self-identify as like, yeah, that's the kind of company that I'm building. And I guess the other
Uh,
piece to it is like often a founder-led brand is a company that a product that you use where you know the name of the person that started it.
Another word in there is the word scale. I mean, ultimately, that's what you're helping them do. You
Yeah.
said who you help, what you help them, what tool you help them to do it with, and what you're helping them
Yeah.
to do ultimately is scale,
Yeah.
right? Why
Yes.
why is why is that word in there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question. I think because it holds a lot of things that we're trying to do. We're trying to do more. And I could say it that way. I help founder-led brands. I can't mixing up my letters. Founder-led brands do more with AI, right? And whether it's do more marketing, do more operations, do more value creation for their clients, um, do more in less time, like time, especially for the smaller teams, like the time of the founder, time of the leadership team is a really important asset. Like how can we get that back? So how can we do more in less time? And scale is a good word to kind of hold all of those ideas.
Thanks for humoring me and breaking this
Yes,
down
I
for
love
me.
it. I love
So,
that you're breaking it down, and I hope it stands the pressure test. How is it? What would you add?
well, so far so good. Let's keep
Okay,
going, and then we can
okay,
we can
let's
circle
go.
back. But obviously, this we're more niched down than just founder-led brands here. We are
Yeah,
focused on course creators and aspiring course creators. So
yes.
next I want to jump into, based on this, how should course creators and aspiring course creators be using AI
I love this.
authentically so that they don't lose their soul?
I love this. Okay, so um, there are so many ways. So like one bucket we could talk about is marketing. Like marketing is the easy thing to talk about when it comes to AI because it's the same for everybody. Meaning if I say, talk about creating a LinkedIn post, everybody knows what that looks like, right? But then when we talk about other things, like it's going to be very different. Like, what's the structure of your course? What's the deliverables of your course? How's your course structured? Like, it gets much more nuanced. But we can start with, we can talk about marketing. We can dig in there. But when I think about, the operations, I think about the business. I think about how your business creates value. There's so many different ways within that business that you could use AI. First, I think about your IP, your intellectual property, the thing that you're teaching, the thing that people are coming to you to learn, the transformation that you facilitate. So we can use AI to do a handful of things related to that. We can, I'm just going to name the buckets and then we can circle back. Um, so putting your IP into AI is one option. Then I think about like the course experience and how that's facilitated, and how can we enhance or enhance the client experience, the student experience going through the course using AI. And then I think about the at the transformation at the end of the transformation when people complete the course. How can we use AI to help students understand and see, reflect back to them, where they have been over the course of that whole experience. And then for courses that are run, I think courses and coaching can kind of bleed together. But with especially when there's live sessions, when you're involved one on one or in groups with students, there's a lot that you can do to help yourself do better at at that work. So those are the broad categories. We could dig into any or all of those. What sounds fun?
They all sound fun to me because this is the area that I live.
Yes.
I guess I didn't realize the magnitude of the question when I asked it because there's these buckets, and then within each bucket, you could probably talk at length
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
each one. I think I would like to start with marketing
Yeah.
because that's typically where people struggle with the most. You're
Yes.
somebody is
Totally.
is an expert at piano or guitar or cooking or gardening, and they want to create an online course.
Yep.
Typically, making the online course is one of the easiest pieces for them.
Mm.
What they
Mhm.
struggle with often is marketing, sales.
Yes.
So how can we be
Yes.
utilizing AI for that?
Yes. Yes. I'm just smiling as you're saying that because I'm remembering when I launched my first online course. I spent months building this thing and had like the whole like product launch sequence and like did the whole thing and then like close card. I had like one sale and I was just like so devastated. Like I thought the hard part was making the course, but the hard part is for me was
Wait, wait,
selling.
wait, wait,
So,
wait. We got it. We got to stay in here for a
okay.
minute because a lot of times we hear about the Uber success stories. We
Oh
don't hear
yeah.
as much about
Oh, I could
those
tell
type of
you.
stories. And
Oh
your story
geez.
is a lot like mine. When I launched my piano course in 2013, I was all excited. I spent all my time on the course itself and very little on anything else, marketing, sales,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it did not go well for me either
Yes.
when I first started. So,
Oh.
why do
Oh.
you think you only made one sale?
Okay. Well, there's a couple reasons. I actually ended up, I think it was with either 3 or 4 sales, but I didn't know because the sales notifications didn't come in on those. So, it wasn't a total disaster, but it felt like it. Um, I mean, I feel like there's so many things. So, the course is called the Calling Course, is related to my project called the Meaning Movement, which is like where I started building initially on, building an online business. I was fresh out of grad school with a degree in psychology and theology and really wanted to help people with like existential questions of like where are we going and what should I do with my life? And so I've been building this for a while. I had like I don't know like 1,000 maybe 1,200 people on my email list. Um, took a course about building online courses to like make sure I did this right. Um,
Wait, what
and
course did you take?
create awesome online courses was the name of it.
David Simon Garland.
Yeah, that's the one. That's
Absolutely.
the one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
And it was it
remember
was
I remember
it was
watching a
solid.
joint webinar with him and him and Pat Flynn selling
Yes,
it.
I
At the
was
time,
probably
I
I
was
probably was on that webinar. I probably bought it while you were watching.
dude, I'll be honest with you, this was probably 2013,
Yeah,
2014,
yeah,
and I'm trying to figure out how to sell my $300 piano course. But I'm
yes,
seeing him talk about courses and
yes,
he's selling this $1,000 course on
yes,
courses. And I'm like,
yes,
man, that is
yes,
the dream. Like if I ever get
yes,
this to work, I want to have a course on courses and sell it for a
yes.
thousand bucks. That
Right,
sounds
right.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And so I had been building this email list, and I had people who were on it and that were engaged. I've been building for a few years, and then when I launched the course. I mean, I think the real problem is I wasn't super clear on the transformation that I was facilitating for the people that I was facilitating it for, and also there's this idea of like Nathan Barry talks about it as like sell things that make money to people who have money, and I was selling something that didn't make money to people who don't have money. So I took the opposite approach. Not that they necessarily didn't have money, but it attracted a lot of people who were in career changes. So they're like under resourced or retirees on fixed incomes who like, the kids are out of the house and now what do I do? And I had been coaching, like doing career coaching. So like I was taking this methodology that I developed. And that's kind of the basis of the course. But um, But man, I mean, the context, like even the next layer of this is I launched this course. I was this is I don't think I've ever told this story publicly. Um, my wife and I were sharing a house with another couple. That other couple was going through a divorce. We had our first child on the way. I was had the business doing coaching, and I was also running a photography company. And I was like, this course is going to be like our ticket out of this. Like we need some space. We need to buy a house. We can't afford it. Um, and I got super sick. Was hospitalized. This freak thing. Hospitalized for the better part of a month due to literally my intestines twisted into a knot, like a physical manifestation of like the pressure. I got out of the hospital, was out for like 2 weeks, and then that's when my son was born. And in those 2 weeks is when I launched this course. Um, and I remember like closed cart, like, okay, it's 9 p.m., 12 p.m. Eastern was when I was going to shut down the cart, and no more sales had come in. And I was just devastated. And it was like a pressure cookie, partly of my own making, of like unreal expectations, but fully, in some ways, fully drank the Kool-Aid of like, all you got to do is put together a course, and then like it rains money. Um, at the end of the day, I had four, yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 people in the course. That's a great start, right? And like, hindsight 2020, and with a lot more reps under my belt, I'm like, that should have been a great start to like, let's make this a great experience for those people, and let's like learn from them and continue to iterate, maybe find different positioning, maybe it's not the right course, all of those things. But it was, yeah, it was in some ways just one of the lowest points, maybe the lowest point of my entrepreneurial career. Um, so yeah, I don't even remember what you asked about. I guess about the course launch, but that's the story.
Yeah, there was some circumstances there for you.
Yeah,
Wow. I mean,
yeah,
I'm quite
it was
impressed
thick.
you got the 3 or 4 sales.
Yeah, yes, totally, totally, yes. But yeah,
But I was
so
like you, where I was listening to Pat Flynn, I was listening to these podcasts, and like the only stories you would hear are the really
totally,
successful stories.
yeah, yeah,
I work on this, I made the course, I launched the course, I got distracted, had dinner with my wife, I go back to my bank account, there's $2.5 million sitting there, right? Those are the stories
a hundred
that you would
percent.
hear. So you wouldn't hear the failures
No,
back then,
no,
especially back
no.
then. And so you and I went and created a course, and there was only one option because we
Yes,
only heard the one option. So
yes,
you just
right.
you just gave me
Thank
an
you for
idea
saying that.
for
Yes,
you just
because
gave
that's
me
what
an
it
idea
feels
for
like. Like I'm
a
like, why did I believe it? Why did I think it was going to work like that? It feels so naive, but it's also like that's just the waters I was swimming in. It's like, yeah, you build the course, it's going to be awesome.
yes. You just gave me an idea for a new business, or a
Okay.
new podcast. Maybe we can do it together, but a podcast just called Launch Failures, and we just highlight people's failures, but but what they learned from it too.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
there's
I love it. I
positives on
love
the
it.
other side,
I
but
love it. Well, I
really
think that
highlighting the failures.
yeah, yeah. I think there's lots of potential there to start with the failures and then get to the because it's only through the failures that you get to the successes. But we need to tell more of those stories so that people like you and me 10 years ago maybe could have a few less tears.
Let's go back and get off of
Okay.
this tangent.
Okay.
We
Good
were
tangent though.
starting to dive in. Yeah, I mean, it was a great tangent. I found out about that initial course launch, which I think
Yeah.
listeners will appreciate. But
Yeah.
we got there because I had asked you to start diving into the marketing
The
piece
marketing side.
in terms
Okay.
of
Yeah.
how we can use AI.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, the first question, I like to think about when it comes to marketing is like how do we get AI to do the things that like to sound like us, to be on brand. And I know that like these tools keep getting better and better, where ChatGPT has its memory function and Claude does as well. So over time it can like learn how you communicate, but they don't give you the controls to really um nuance it and really make it 100% what you want it to be. And so I have a framework that I use called the Power Framework. Um, I may have gone through this on the session when we first when we first connected, but the Power Framework is a checklist that you can use to get AI to do anything that you want it to do. Anything is a little bit generous, but any output that you're trying to get it to create, if you check all of these boxes, you will have a much better success rate. And it's the basis of all that I do with clients, whether I'm building workflows in their business or I'm building tools for them or educating. And the Power Framework is an acronym. So you need to first teach your AI, help make sure you're understanding. And this is the broad category. You could think of this like prompt engineering, but I think a better way to think of it is context engineering. Context is everything when it comes to AI, meaning AI is like especially if right out of the box, you sign up for a new account. It's like an Ivy League grad who just graduated with straight A's and took all the classes and all of the majors. No, it has so much capability, and it just started. This is day one in your business. What do you give it to do? And that's like the way that you would instruct someone in that situation to do the things you need to do is the same way that you need to interact with, especially in the early, when you're starting in with your AI. So you got to help it understand the P, which is the persona. This is you, or if you're working with clients, it's your client. So it's the persona, who you are, what you're about, what your business is about, what your values are, how what you care about. The next is the O, which is the others. This is whoever's on the receiving end of whatever you're trying to create. So in the marketing, this is your ideal customer. What are their psychographics, demographics, wants, needs, desires, pain points? What's the transformation that they're after that you can help them with? You need to educate it about that. So that's P, O, and the W is the work. What is the thing that you're trying to create? So coming back to marketing, it's the Instagram caption, it's the LinkedIn post, it's the script for the YouTube video. What does that look like? How long is it? What are the platform specific requirements? What is the syntax? How's the formatting? How's text formatted on that platform or whatever it might be? What's the call to action? All of those kinds of things. The E is closely related, which is expression. So we have the P, the O, the W, the E. The expression is kind of the felt, like the style. You can think of this like a brand style guide, like really the voice. How do we capture the voice? What are the phrases that you say often? How do you open and close your start? How do you start? How do you end? What are the ideas you like to play with, the metaphors that you use? How do you turn a phrase? All of those kinds of things. And then the R is the references. And what I mean by references is like show AI. We've just told AI how to function. Here, let's show it. This is what success looks like. For making a LinkedIn post, here are 10 really fantastic LinkedIn posts. So you can see all of what I just showed you in action. And if you can give AI all of that, then you can create a system where you can have an input to AI. Maybe it's an idea for a post. Maybe it's a transcript. Maybe it's a podcast interview where I can drop in the transcript of the podcast interview and say, pull out 5 ideas that I could turn into a LinkedIn post. And it knows all of this stuff now about what I'm trying to do and what good looks like and who I'm trying to reach. So it can filter through everything that I just talked about on this podcast and then turn around and say, here are 5 ideas that you talked about in that podcast that could be good LinkedIn posts. And then I could say, great, format them for me on LinkedIn. And I can go from idea or input much, much faster to completed post ready or close to post ready text output. I teach people how to do this. I have this guide that walks you through, because like the real trick is like, how do we do this repeatedly? And I do use what I call training context files or brand artifacts, where we kind of distill all this down into a text document that you can put into any AI. You can create your custom GPT or your Gemini gem, your Claude project. You just drop it in. But AITrainingGuide.com teaches you like how to do this for your brand. But it's like firepower or rocket fuel. That's what I'm looking for. It's like rocket fuel for your marketing. So that's like the starting point to think about. Use it. How do you get your AI to sound like you? The next thing I like to think about is, what is your current creation process? How do you collect ideas? how do you develop those ideas, and then how do you post? And this is like, it's very personal. Different people, especially in like the writing creating process, like we want to think about, again, like if AI is our recent grad who is a really great writer, how would we want that that person to work with us on our content? Do we want to say, here's the brand, all the brand stuff I just told you, go and post for me? Or do we want to say, here's all the stuff I just told you, create some drafts, and then I'm going to edit them and then give them back to you to go post? Or, like there's a lot of preferences. And I think the larger the company, the more people are used to like having team members who do things for them. But it's a very personal thing. But in the same way that you would insert, an editor, a copy editor, a developmental editor, as authors do in developing, a body of work or a book, the same way that you can insert AI at different points of this process, so that it's not just handing something off to AI and just saying like, write a LinkedIn post. That's never it's never going to go well. But instead, creating a workflow, first understanding how you'd like to work, creating a workflow to develop, from idea into that final thing, that final product, marketing product. And then the other piece is like, how do you capture ideas? What systems do you have for ideating, for taking voice notes, for pulling transcripts of stuff that you're doing? One of the thesis that I always come back to with clients around this is that most of us are drowning in content. We're always creating on phone calls with our friends where we're talking about the things that we're excited about. Like, all of it is content. It's just we're not capturing any of it. And then we get down to sit on our computer. We open LinkedIn. We stare at a blinking cursor, and we're like, I don't have anything to say. But like, you have so much to say. It's just right now you can't access it. So then, how can we use AI to create feedback loops where you can, one, capture more things, but then two, have a workflow that's just readily accessible, so that when it's time for me to create content, I go to this thing, this place, this folder, whatever it is, your note capture system, and can pull an idea, drop it into a system, and create some content. I'll stop there because I've been talking a lot, but that's how I begin to think about marketing with AI. And there's much more. I mean, we could go for the whole episode just on this in particular. But thoughts?
I know you have kids, so you can probably resonate with this. But I've got two kids. My oldest is 10. So 10 years ago,
Yeah.
my daughter was born, and we're in the hospital for a couple of days, and then they send you home, and it's like, wait. Like,
I
you've
remember
been
this
here helping me
feeling.
take care. You've been here helping me take care of this baby, and now you're sending me home. You're not coming with me. I
No.
don't have, like, nobody's really taught me this. I don't have
Oh
a
my gosh.
course. There's no, like, I didn't pass a test. I've got to
Yes.
take this human home. And
Yes.
as you were talking, I'm like, that's kind of like AI is like,
Oh, it's so
this was
true.
dumped on us
Yeah.
without, like, people
There's
don't
no instruction
necessarily
manual.
have the right
Yes.
training.
Yes.
Well,
Oh,
there
that is
can be,
so
and
true. Yeah.
that's kind of like, would you say that if somebody's feeling that way, then that's kind of what you mentioned with your free resource, AItrainingguide.com,
Yes. Absolutely.
would be kind of the initial instruction manual on how to
Yes.
use this super powerful tool?
Yes. Yes. And it's both like you can read it and understand it, and it'll walk you through the steps. You can also have a video showing you how to do this. Just copy it and put it into your AI and say, walk me through this. And then it will help you use it. Which is, one of the just to unlock that everyone listening should do is like, know that AI is better at using AI than we'll ever be. So like, lean on it to help you learn how to use it better.
That's
I
brilliant,
wish
and
kids were like
that's
that,
free, right?
like, don't you wish what do you need right now? Can you just tell me?
I just wanna, confirm that, so that resource, it sounds amazing. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
free, right?
That's
Just an
free. Totally
opt-in?
free. Yeah, you'll be on my email list, and you'll hear from me. I'll give you tips and thoughts about AI and resources, weekly, semi-weekly. But it's totally free. So, yeah.
So, ho how'd you get into this? Because obviously you
Yeah.
have not been doing this for 12 years like I've been doing
Yeah.
piano.
I
Pianos have been around for
Yes.
hundreds and hundreds of years, if not
Hundreds of
more.
years. Totally.
AI has not.
No,
How'd you get
no.
into this?
Yeah, I did not. I got into this, somewhat through the back door. So, I've told a little bit of my story of starting in entrepreneurship around the time you started in the 2010s. Um, launched my course in 20, I guess it was 2015. My son is 10, so that's 2015. Um, and struggled for a bit, and then was like, I need to do something else, and had an opportunity that came my way to jump in with a private equity team. They were an SEO team that pivoted into buying websites and then buying software. And they're like, we bought this video thing. You'd been running a photography company. We like working with you. You have any interest in being a CEO of a small team? I was like, okay, my course isn't selling, so let's do that. So I jumped into the deep end of software and leading a team about 8, grew that to a team of about 24 over the next couple of years, and tripled the valuation, got under LOI to sell, and then wanted to get back to building my own things, but had learned a lot in those interim years, and partnered up with a couple people I'd met along the way to start a venture studio. So building software, marketing technology, mostly video-based marketing technology and marketing technology adjacent software. Had 6 product launches there. So I'd learned a lot about tech, learned a lot about building and launching things. And that wrapped up around 2022 for a variety of reasons with partners going different directions. We sold off one of the assets there and then shut down the others, and then I was like, what am I going to do with my life? The questions I was trying to help people ask with my course, I was like, I think I need to take my course now, but kind of fell into marketing leadership. So I became a fractional CMO mostly for software companies, and that was right around the time that ChatGPT came on the scene. And when I was running the venture studio, we had about 12 full-time team members. And it was just a lot for me to hold together. We were very scrappy. We were self-funded, so that's also an important factor. And I was a bit burnt out by that experience. So I wanted to build my new brand differently. And so I was like, how far can I get with these AI tools? And so I cracked it open and started just trying to figure it out. Struggled a lot. But over time, developed some workflows and really became, at the surface level, I was a fractional CMO, but behind the scenes, I was running a AI-driven marketing agency. So most of the deliverables were created by AI, by me, or with AI, I like to say, by me or with a couple contractors that I was working with. And then started talking to friends about like what they were doing and with AI, and most of them weren't doing much. And so I was like, here, can I fix this for you? Can I teach you a few things? And they started getting similar, just fantastic results. And like in their words, it's like, this is life changing. And so at that moment, I think that this is what I should do next. I was looking for something that was more scalable than an agency model, something that could be more productized. And so for about a year and a half or so ago, decided to go all in on AI consulting, AI enablement, and that's how I got into it. What's interesting about it is it feels like, we already kind of touched on this, like on the human side, like feels like, I started with like my entrepreneurial career trying to help people like with like the most human thing. Like, what does it mean to like do something meaningful like with your life? And now we're like, I'm teaching robots to like pretend like they're human. And in one regard, it feels like they're like on opposite ends of the spectrum. But again, like for knowledge workers, it feels like it's not a spectrum. It's like, it feels like it's a circle, because what I'm able to do is to help people who have great ideas, like get those out faster and better. And it feels like for the first time in my life as a creator, like I'm able to be the creator that I want to be, because there's so much less friction to going from ideation to actually like having something that's publish ready. And so it's both like the most human thing and the least human thing, like at the same time.
All right, quick break from the conversation with Dan for something really important if you're serious about growing your course business in the coming year. My coaching programs, both Genesis courses for beginners and next level coaching for established course creators looking to scale, are going to have a special offer going into the new year. These are both my 1-year coaching programs where we go deep on building, growing, and scaling your online course business together. If you've been listening to episodes like this and thinking, well, next year has to look different, I don't want to do this alone anymore, then now is the perfect time to start thinking about whether coaching should be on your list going into 2026. The best way to hear about all of the details when that offer goes live is to be on my email list. We'll be announcing things very, very soon in the next week or so going into 2026. on that email list, receiving those emails, that's where I'll share everything about Genesis and Next Level and how to determine which one is right for you. So to join that email list, just head to theonlinecourseguy.com. Again, that's theonlinecourseguy.com. Pop in your email and you'll be the first to know when the new year offer is announced. All right, let's get back to that conversation with Dan. On the landing page for that training guide right now, and it
Yeah.
specifically says it works in ChatGPT or Claude.
Yeah.
What is your go-to AI tool?
Yeah. Well, it depends. The answer to that is it depends. The one that I spend the most time in right now is Claude Code. Next to that is a tool called Windsurf. So these are like next level like geek stuff. So like for listeners, if you're not ready to go down the rabbit hole, like the answer would probably be Claude. But I use ChatGPT, I use Gemini. Like I switch between them quite a bit for different things. But like as far as like work and getting real work done, I use Claude Code for that. And though Claude Code has the word coding in the name,
I've never heard of
yes,
that.
right, yes. It is oh man, how do we describe it? Okay, let's first talk about let's take this one step at a time. Let me think how to I'm trying to translate this to non-technical folks. Okay, so it is, let's put it this way. Let me first describe what an IDE is, which is an independent development environment. And I use Claude Code within this thing. Though Claude Code is a totally separate thing. But an IDE, if you could picture a window, and the most popular is a product called VS Code by Microsoft. I think it's by Microsoft. And it's a coding tool. Any developer would be very familiar with VS Code. It's typically arranged in 2 or 3 panes. You have the left sidebar, which has all of your files, so folders with files in them. The middle is a canvas, and then with an AI-enabled IDE, your right panel is where you have your AI. So I use a tool called Windsurf. There's another one called Cursor that does very similar things. What it allows you to do is have a file open in that middle canvas, and then I can talk with the I can edit the canvas directly, so I could type right in the canvas, but then I can talk with the AI on the right side and have it do things in the canvas. So I can edit the canvas, I can edit the text, it can edit the text. It can also create more files. So if I wanted to create, let's say I want to create an email sequence, a launch sequence for my course, I can tell the AI, I want to create a sequence. It's going to be, give it all the Power Framework. I'll already have my context documents built in, like we've already talked about, so it knows who I am and who I'm trying to reach and what the product is and all this kind of stuff. I want to create a launch sequence for a 7-day launch sequence with 5 emails, and let's outline this, and then go ahead and put that into a document, and it'll print all of that in that canvas right in front of me. Then I can go in and tweak it, or I could say, email 3, I don't really like, let's take a different angle. Let's put a case study in there or something along those lines. So it's a much more collaborative way to interact with AI, and it has these extra powers that it can go and do things for you. So you're not having that same drag and drop experience or copy paste experience that you're having in all of the other tools, where you're copying things, or you're from the window and then pasting it into wherever you store especially thinking about marketing, especially thinking about course creation, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of copying pasting that's happening right now. This is a way around that. So that's like down the rabbit hole level 1. Down the rabbit hole level 2 is Claude Code, which is it's a terminal based program, and terminal is scary for anyone who's not spent much time on it. But it's like, the command line on your computer that looks like, DOS back before Windows. Claude runs in there, but you can open it in your IDE. So you have the same idea of like your files, your canvas, and then you can have Claude. And then Claude can do all of those same kinds of things. But what Claude can do uniquely is that it can, it can, We're going super deep. Are we sure we want to keep going here? I want to make sure that this is interesting before I.
We are getting technical, but
Okay,
we need
okay,
to finish the
okay,
thought. We don't want to
okay.
stop because I do
I'll
have
finish
follow
the
up
thought.
questions that I want to dumb it
Okay,
down.
okay, great. I'm sorry if we're losing anyone, but with Claude, you can give and create instruction sets. You can think of them like prompts. They're called sub agents that it can go and do things, and it can orchestrate them. So not only do you have an AI that can do things for you, but that AI can control other AIs that can all go do things for you. And it can do things like access the web. It can grab stuff from websites. There's this concept called an MCP, which is a model context protocol. So you can connect your AI to other sources. So mine can see my email, see my calendar. It can publish like my newsletter to my Kit account. It'll draft my newsletter for me. It'll check my calendar. It'll go to where my meeting recordings are and grab transcripts. If I need to, send a follow-up email or work on a proposal, it can go and grab that meeting, look at the last few meetings that we have, and then, start putting a proposal together based on the proposal template that I use, etc. So it's just has all these extra abilities. It is technical. Again, like we are many layers deep down the rabbit hole here. But those are the tools that I spend the most time in.
So just because it's called Claude Code doesn't mean it necessarily is only to like generate code. It can generate,
Yes,
email
absolutely.
sequences is one
Yes,
of your examples, things like that.
yes,
And
totally.
it's updating those documents in a canvas versus just in my chat thread.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I guess I should have said that. Why didn't I say that? That's so much better. You're
Dude,
so much
as
better at this than I am.
no, my mind is blown right now. And look, I've got a technical background. I was an electrical
Okay.
engineer for 8 years and I did a
Okay.
lot of programming, but not everybody listening to this is technical. And not that I'm not
Yes.
bragging and saying I followed everything you were saying,
Yes.
because literally as you were talking, I opened up ChatGPT and I said, explain to me Claude Code as if I were
Yes.
5 years old.
Uh-huh. There you go. That's what we should have done. Let's just do that voice chat and just insert that as my answer so that we don't have to go as deep down the rabbit hole. But let
But
me
it
follow up with a couple
like
things
it
because I
says
think the Cloud Code is on a trajectory where it's becoming more user friendly. Like they just released in Claude on desktop. You now, at least on mine, if you're on a subscription, there's a toggle where you can switch between a chat bubble and the brackets for coding. And I think it's going to continue to move that direction. And the theme that I want to follow here for anyone who you totally lost me, Dan, is that this is the direction that AI is going, where it's not going to be just a chat-based interface, but it's a chat-based interface that I think is going to become like the central hub of where we get work done. And it's already there for me, but also it's a bit technical. And I think it's going to get there for everybody, where you're going to be going into your Claude. I think especially Claude is moving in this direction, and you'll be able to have it go and do things on your behalf in ways that we have never been able to have technology work for us in the past.
Sure there are plenty of people that would be listening to this and be like, I have no idea what he's talking about, but I think I need that. Right. Like
Yeah,
if we want to like if we wanted to implement some of these things in our business, like how do we learn this from you? I'm sure not all of that is in
totally.
your AI training guide.
Yeah, no, not all. Definitely not all of that. And again, like I think I took the turn into the technical here when you asked the question of which tools I use. I have a cohort. It's a 90-day experience where I teach people how to implement AI in their business. And so the promise is that we're going to create the workflows that you need to save 5 to 10 hours a week in your business by the end of the program. It's a 90-day program, guaranteed, or I will personally build them for you. And so we get into some of this, but it depends on how it's a very personalized program. At the beginning, we like the very first session, we're like, okay, choose the thing that you're going to build first, and then we're going to work on building that. For some people, it's like, I just need to build a custom GPT. And so we start there. But it's one part training and then one part office hours. And in those office hours, we go anywhere that you want to go, but really with the emphasis of like, how do you really get value out of these tools? Because we all hear these people doing these crazy things, and maybe hopefully I'm not too much of one of those people right now being like, oh wow, AI can do so much, but like I see that vision, but there's this huge chasm between that and like where I am right now, and I don't know how to cross that chasm. And the best way to cross it is by seeing other people what they're doing. And so there's a tremendous power doing this in a group experience and in kind of sharing, showing and telling as you build so that we can all learn and level up together and see how we cross that chasm. So that's a great context. That's the best context to learn these things from me. I also do a lot of workshops. Sometimes I get into these things, though it is a bit technical for some folks. I have thought about like just having a, I don't know, a Claude Code advanced program. I just don't know if like that's you tell me. You tell me what's the right angle, right? Like it's the solution. It's not the problem, right? So I just don't know that it's the right thing to try to bring to market.
What is the name of that cohort program, and how does somebody get more information about it?
Yeah, yeah. So it's the AI mastery cohort, and if you go to, um, let me just check the URL before I tell you where to go. If you go to dancumberlandlabs.com, let me make sure that works. Slash cohort. Yeah, dancumberlandlabs.com/cohort. There'll be an opt-in there to get more information, and then you'll be taken to a page that has a whole outline of that program. I run it roughly quarterly, but it all just really I try to get between like 6 to 12 people per cohort. So when there's just enough interest, we're like, okay, let's do another round.
So going back to the tools discussion, that is not the direction I expected to go because I am a basic AI user, right?
Yes,
I
yes,
use
yes.
ChatGPT. I'm on the $20 a month plan. We
That's
have a
great.
bunch of custom GPTs for our
Perfect.
business. We're
Perfect.
using it.
Yes.
Clearly not the level you're using it. But
Yeah, but it's working for you.
let me ask you this, right? Well, yeah, of course it's working, but like every time I know there's plenty more it could be
Yeah,
doing, we could be doing with
totally.
it.
Mhm, mhm.
But let me ask a very ignorant question, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember when ChatGPT came out. I was on a call, I was on a group call with my coaching program, and one of my clients was like, "Hey, have you heard about ChatGPT?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so I pulled it up live on that call. I've been meaning to
Yes.
go back and find that
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
watch
post
it.
my reaction to
I
this.
would love to
Yeah.
see that.
And I was like, because it was
Yeah.
recorded. It's some, we have it somewhere. So ChatGPT obviously came out first, and that was the thing, and it's still the
Yep,
thing, right?
yep,
But
yep.
you go to grok.com or Claude or
Mhm,
Perplexity or Gemini, and like
yes.
at its core, like they're all doing the same thing,
They're
right?
all doing the same thing. Exactly. Yes, yes.
What like did would was there no like patent on the original one? Like how does everybody have the same software?
Well, that's the thing is they actually don't have the same software, and it is like a crazy, ridiculous race to get the best software, and they're building massive data centers that are using tons of compute power to try to build the better model to win this race. And I think the economy is like going to rise and potentially fall based on that race and the amount of money that's being invested into these data centers in order to build the best model um, and win that race. And so, um, functionally, it is all the same. Like if you were to look at the code of what it would take to what happens when you hit enter on a chat and what's sent to the AI, and then like how that's all structured, it's exactly the same model to model, but then what happens as far as like the computation that's happening, that's all proprietary based on the individual models. And so if you're working in code, you can just drop in different API keys to switch out, OpenAI to, to Claude, to Gemini, to Grok, to other, local LLMs. Like there's no end to that. But like I think the heart of your question is like what's most useful, and I think that's where I'd like to point people. Maybe this is where the turn we should have gone instead of going down the rabbit hole is like use what works best for you and what you're comfortable with, and then when you're trying to get it to do something that like you're like I think AI can help me with this problem. Like one of the questions I love asking people is like If I gave you a magic wand, a magic AI wand, and you could point at anything in your business and have AI do that or make it better, faster, or increase the quantity or quality, what would you point it at? And if you can't do that with the current tool you're on, then that's a good time to start thinking about like what's a different tool. ChatGPT can do a lot. If you're not using ChatGPT on desktop, use it on desktop because you can call other agents into the chat with the @ sign, which you can't do in the browser. And that unlocks a lot of potential for building workflows where you're connecting different agents to do different things for you. Um, I'm a huge fan of Claude. Claude has what's called skills now, where you can teach Claude to do a specific thing for you, and it just remembers it. And you can go and edit those to change the instructions for it. But then anytime you're trying to get it to, create a pitch deck for you, it knows how you like to do your pitch deck. So that goes back. So you don't have to do as much like dragging and dropping and pulling and finding the right project file and all of this kind of stuff. And the final piece is thinking about connectors. And so in ChatGPT and in Claude and natively in Gemini, because it's a Google product, you can connect it to other things. And we're going to see those become more and more powerful. But Claude is developing the technology, has pioneered the technology called the Model Context Protocol, an MCP, which allows you to pull information from somewhere and then also push information to that place. And we're going to see this happen more and more, where you'll be able to say, write me this email sequence, now go publish it for me. And it will be able to go and put it live in your account, your Kit account, or whatever your email service provider account is. Claude has more since they started that technology. They seem to be winning that race, that particular part of the race, as far as integrating with other things in ways that ChatGPT hasn't caught up yet.
That is very helpful, and that is certainly one of the questions I was asking at some point. But the heart of the most recent question, and I prefaced this was like, this is an ignorant question, but like ChatGPT comes out, and then not long after, all these other companies have what looks like an identical product.
Yes.
Did they just reverse engineer it that quickly, or how did that even work?
Yeah. Well, so the technology, but like ChatGPT was the first to package, to point this technology at a chat interface, and I think that's what felt so novel about it and feels so different. And I think that was the big unlock. But the underlying technology has been around for a long time, and it's even what drives search results when you're just doing a Google search. Like there's an algorithm behind that's very akin to these like. Really all they are predictive machines, and so it's trying to understand the intent and then give you what matches the intent of your search. But the same could be applied to Amazon when you're searching for a product, or to I don't know, like this is in like crime mapping of like where are crimes going to happen more, and like all of these things, like these algorithms have been used by technology companies for a long time. It's just they've become sophisticated enough that we can dialogue with them in a conversational way, and that's what ChatGPT opened up, and we're the first to crack. And why they couldn't patent that is probably because it's just like kind of like it would be too hard, too fuzzy of a line to draw of where that that idea starts and ends versus what the underlying technology actually does, because it's already kind of doing it. But does that begin to answer the question?
Yeah. So they didn't create the underlying technology, like the core technology that exists. They pioneered the chat interface behind it.
Yes.
Or in front of it.
Yes, or at least we're the first.
Thank you for that.
First to make it public. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question.
First to make it public, and then Google sees that, Elon sees that, and they're like, "Oh, we can do this too."
Yes, exactly.
Let's get back to some more focused course creator stuff. I know we're coming up on time too, but one of those buckets you mentioned earlier was that we can use it to enhance student experience.
Yes.
Can you go into more about that one?
Yeah. So like I work with one coach. He has a cohort experience and a community. And one of the things that we've done with him, I'm just going to give you a specific example because it's going to be probably be very different for everybody. But so he's teaching marketing and positioning, and also specifically podcast guesting is something that he does a lot. And so people are thinking about their what it is that their brand promise, their brand, how they articulate, their one liner, they're developing pitches and all of those kinds of things. And so he teaches this, people do it in practice, but then he has his, like, we've developed these, taken his methodology and put it into an AI that his students can then access. And we've just done it. First, I did this in its own platform, and then Circle just recently released their AI built into their platform. So then we ported those over, and he's added on some of his own. But now, as people are going through and working on these things, they're not only asking him questions when he's doing his office hours and in sessions and stuff like that, but then they can go to his tools and they're trained up on his methodologies. So then they're getting what is basically customized feedback to their specific situation based on how he thinks about things to help them with the work of the course as they're going through it. So that's like, one example, but I think it will depend a lot on the course. But the idea is like thinking about like, what is your IP, your intellectual property, and what are the other ways that people can interact with it outside of, just the more traditional course and cohort typical experiences.
I wanna ask you about more tools before we go, because
I won't go
before we
as
hit record,
I won't go as
no,
technical. I
no.
promise.
Perfect. Yeah, I want to go simpler because before we hit record, you were telling me about a tool, a very simple tool that I'm really excited about that isn't necessarily for everybody, but I was watching a presentation you did, and you would just talk and then the text would appear. So you're just using this little voice to text app that can be used anywhere. Like I'm used to using voice to text within an app that has it, like ChatGPT. Sometimes I'll just talk for my prompt, but you had something called Whisper Flow that can allow you to do that anywhere. So I'm going to check that out. Like, what other tools, AI or otherwise, like, are like
tools?
essential to your day to day?
I love that. What a great question. So, I mean, Whisper Flow is definitely one of them. And the way it works is you just have a hotkey on my keyboard. It's function. I just press and hold the function button and start talking. And then whatever window my cursor is in, it'll transcribe it and paste it in there. So it works across any app, which is just super, super cool. Other AI. So like, I mean, everybody's trying to become AI enabled. And that often feels like we're kind of strapping AI on to like just throwing AI into whatever tool already exists. There's a few that I have been impressed with that are, I'm not a huge Notion user, but Notion's AI is can do a lot of very cool things as far as like generating content, kind of similar to what I was talking about with, how I'm using Cloud Code in these IDEs. That has some built-in AI that's super cool. Airtable, even more powerful. And even like on the accounting side, like Xero, as my accounting software has, they just have this AI assistant that can like do a lot of really cool things. I can be like, I need to create an invoice for this amount for this or that client, and then it creates the invoice, which is just brilliant. Like that's exactly how AI should work. I'm trying to think of like outside of that other, there's lots of little tools like Whisper Flow that I use all the time. I don't know if like by far and above, like Whisper Flow is like the one that's like my daily driver, that I can barely live without. I guess
I'm so excited about that one. I'm gonna download it as soon as we get off the call.
Yeah. I guess the next layer is like the things that like people want to get more technical. You can do so much with like automation platforms with AI, things like Zapier, Make, N8N. But people are most familiar with Zapier, where you can like watch a tag in your a label in your inbox, and if an email gets that label, it can do things with it. And with AI into that mix, you can do some really powerful things. Watch for a tag, then process it. Have AI look at it. For example, I have one just kind of put some skin on these bones, where I subscribe to some email lists where like PR opportunities come my way. Reporters looking for people to comment on different things. So I've created an automation that in Make that looks at those emails as they come in, and then evaluates them based on the criteria of what would make it a good opportunity for me, and then only lets it through to my inbox. It actually repackages it and sends me an email saying you should comment on this thing. So instead of getting multiple emails every day and I have to go through and like think about, okay, is there anything here for me? I just get a curated list that's much more relevant. Just simple things like that, where you can take either places that add value to your business, or just things that just suck time away from you, and use AI to help kind of filter opportunities and filter things for you, and just kind of scrape the cream of the crop for you, is a huge value add. And so taking some of these tools out, you could already do similar things with automations, but then add AI into them, it can be really powerful.
Dan, last question for you. I can envision a lot of people listening to this episode with both excitement and overwhelming confusion.
Mm,
The excitement piece is like, wow, maybe I didn't realize just how powerful these tools can be, how much more I could be doing. But at the
yeah.
wame time, like, where do we even go? Like, I'm using
Yes.
ChatGPT at a very basic level. What are the steps I should take to be
Yeah.
more of a power user of these things and get more out of it, right? So
Yes.
for that type of person here at the end of the episode, like, what are some baby steps we could take
I love
now?
this. That's so great. Such a good question, and I love that empathy for the audience. And I hope for everyone listening, like, I hope that you don't. I don't want you to come out of this feeling overwhelmed. Like, I hope that it would go in the other direction of like inspired. But I can definitely relate to the overwhelm. But I think a lot of times behind that overwhelm is this feeling of like I'm missing out, or like the train has passed me by and I have to catch up. And I want to like say like loud and clear, like, you're not behind. Like, it's happening. Everybody's confused by it, and we're all going at the pace that makes the most sense for us. So I want to give you some permission to be exactly where you are in your process, and because that's really, I think, exactly where you need to be. And the more generative. What a fun, what a funny word choice. The more productive. Let's use that word, a less AI word. The more productive thing to do is to say, okay, like what's one thing I can do every day that can continue my AI education. And I think there's and skill learning. Like AI is, and I will. This is a hill that I will die on. Like AI is a soft skill, and we need to stop thinking about it like it's like coding or something like that, or like math. Like it's a soft skill, much like making small talk. And so it takes time to really learn and to like internalize how these systems can work, and like to like you have to rewire our thinking about really about our whole workday. And that you have to give yourself permission that like that kind of change takes a long time to sink in. And so the ways that I would suggest doing that is like challenge yourself. If you're not using AI in, every day, use it every day. And if you're only using it for certain tasks, choose one task each day that like, I don't know if AI can help me with this, but I'm going to try and just see what happens. So that's one thing is like, can we just turn up the dial of your AI use just a little bit? And over time, those extra reps will compound into something meaningful. That's one thing. And then secondly is that idea all the way back to how our kids don't tell us how to how to parent, but AI can tell us how to use AI. Is if you're ever trying to do something with AI and you're not sure how to do it, or if you're trying to prompt and you're like it's not doing what you want, like step back a little. I'm a big fan of what I call meta prompting. So before I start an interaction with AI, I start a chat just to talk about the thing that I'm going to do, and I ask AI to help me write the prompt to do the thing that I want to do, and to think about all the context that I need to add, so it can help you structure your thought, structure your approach. So much of good AI use is strategy, and use AI, lean on AI to help you strategize your use with AI and help you improve. So that's just two hopefully bite-sized things that you can do. And if you jump on my email list, I try to send bite-sized things as often as I can to help you in your journey.
That's awesome. I love that. I think I'm going to start using that second one for sure right away because I know how important the prompt is, but I certainly get lazy with my prompts. But
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
use the tool itself to help
Yes.
us refine the prompt. And then we start
Yes.
a new one and use that prompt. I love that so much. Dan,
Yeah.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom. Hopefully not too much overwhelm. Hopefully inspiration people are getting here.
I hope so.
We'll put the links you mentioned in the show notes. But I'll mention that key one more time. AItrainingguide.com, right? That's it?
Yep, that's it.
Amazing.
Thank you so
Dan,
much
thanks
for
for
having
joining
me. This has been a blast.
All right, that was Dan Cumberland. What a fun conversation. And I hope you're walking away feeling inspired, not overwhelmed about using AI in your business. A couple of big takeaways I want to highlight for you. First of all, AI is a tool, not a replacement for your meaning. Dan said it so well. He said, AI is great at generating language, but it can't create meaning. That's your job as the course creator, as the business owner. When you combine your meaning with AI's speed, that's where the real magic happens. And then secondly, context is everything. He shared his power framework, right? Persona, others, work, expression, and references. And it's such a practical way to get AI to actually sound like you and serve your ideal students instead of spitting out generic content. If you want to go deeper into anything we talked about today, including links to Dan's AI training guide and tools that we mentioned here, you can find all the resources and show notes over at oc.show/273. And don't forget the big action item from today that I mentioned around halfway through the episode. My coaching programs, Genesis Courses, Next Level Coaching, will have a great offer for you going into the new year. Both are one-year programs, and the new year is honestly one of the best times to commit to coaching and give your course business the structure and support it deserves heading into 2026. To make sure you don't miss out any of the details, head to theonlinecourseguy.com and make sure you are on the email list. And if you're not, join it right there, theonlinecourseguy.com. You'll get all the info as soon as it's announced if you're on the email list. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Online Course Show. Don't forget to take action on what you've heard here today. I'm rooting for you.